There we are. Hi, darling.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing good.
Yeah. I was like, I feel so silly because I can't stop asking that question, even though I no longer really believe in it. But
Yeah.
there it is. And so let me ask it a different way. I ask a different thing. How's your body this week?
My body's good. I spent like the last week um resting, like
Resting.
actually taking time to um sleep, um watch some musicals, and it's been really great. I
Okay.
mean, there's a lot of other stuff. I mean, tomorrow's my birthday too, so
Tomorrow's your birthday?
yes it is.
Oh, I love knowing that. I love knowing that about you. That means you're a Scorpio. And I want people to know that you are both like an incredible organizer for the Working Families Party, but also an artist, a singer, a creator of music and things in the world. And before we get into the rest of it, have you been singing? Has any song, like you said, you've been watching musicals and doing that, but has anything been coming through you?
Um There have been some things that have been coming through me. I mean, I've been singing a lot like the Bread and Roses song um, from the Bread and Roses strike because I just feel that just feels very like I've just been thinking about Bread and Roses a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's
Mm-hmm.
come through me. And I went to go see Ragtime the day after the election,
Oh, wow.
and it was at New York City Center. And for those of you who don't know, Ragtime is a musical about the turn of the century, but it's talking about Black folks, immigrants, in that case, Jewish immigrants, and your white waspy folks in the United States, and Wheels of a Dream, and some of the songs that Joshua Henry and Nichelle Lewis sang were just like it just that was like it was soul work. It was soul work.
Beautiful. That's what we need. Okay, beautiful. I love all this. And, I want folks to know you were, I think, maybe the first or second person that I was like, oh, election time, like I need to talk to you and I need to have you on here. And then because election time was like actual real work and like the height of your work, we just kept having to reschedule and kept having to reschedule. But
Mm-hmm.
somehow that's all okay because I feel like, okay, here we are in what is. And you to me are the quintessential, like, let's be real about what is. And I have something to say about what is. And I felt like actually throughout the election, you kept coming on being like, it's real cute that y'all thinking this, but like this is what is. And it's real amazing that y'all like are whoa, but this is what is. And so now I feel like more people have to just be like, okay, so here's the circumstances, here's where we are. And I want to still ask you the same questions that I was asking everyone else because I revisited them and I'm like, these are still the questions I want answers to.
Mm-hmm.
So much of the pattern of the conversations before the election were like, stop hyper focusing on this aspect of election and understand that like organizing is this continuous effort and we shape the terrain as much as we can. Sometimes the rug gets swept out from under us and we're humbling ourselves. So the first question I always ask everyone comes from Grace Lee Boggs, and it's the one she used to always ask when we would show up to her home, which is, what time is it on the clock of the world?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh, I love it. What time is it? Let me ask Grace Lee
Mm-hmm.
Boggs. So it's time for us to get real serious
Mm-hmm.
about the conditions we live in
Mm-hmm.
and understand what it's going to take from where we are to where we
Yeah.
want to be.
Okay.
Um, I think that it's also time for us to put aside our own biases,
Mm-hmm.
our own like things about how we feel about certain things. For example,
Yeah.
I had a lot of bias when I was at Occupy Wall Street of anything mainstream. I was kind of like this was terrible, like mainstream nothing. And then I realized like lots of people watch like Love is Blind and Real Housewives, and it's okay. And you can still be radical and watch it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think like we need to have move aside our own biases of what we think just from a surface,
Yeah.
right? Like it sounds cliche, but like you can't judge a book by its cover. You
That's
just
right.
can't. You
Not
just
especially
can't.
if you've been socialized on how to look at books through
Exactly.
such a limited, narrow lens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so
Exactly.
funny. I have to just say this because I meant to tell you how I was and I forgot.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say about it is since the election happened, I have gotten a flat tire. My dishwasher stopped working. My garbage disposal got backed up. My toilet, like the little thingy inside that goes click, click, anyway, everything broke. Everything's broken.
Mm,
And in where I live in Durham, if everything is broken, everyone I'm going to call to ask me for help that's going to come over to my house is someone who, like, if I was judging a book by its cover, I was like, you're my enemy. Like, you voted for him, didn't you? Or like, whatever. But this person, I have to be like, oh, you're coming into my home. You can see all the propaganda and all the things that I believe in. They're
yep.
very, you know, everywhere. And you're going to come into my home and we're going to be humans with each other. And like, I have to extend my humanity towards yours because I'm opening you up and I need something from you.
Mhm.
And it's just been such an interesting thing to be like, oh, like, and I also don't know. So some of them like have
Yeah.
surprised me with little things of like, man, what a week, this and that, like I'm like, oh,
Yep. Yep.
okay, well,
Yep.
Anyway, so
1000%.
but like a lot of the how I am has been like, oh, there's a lot to handle right now, and the universe is making it very material and very like, just
Hmm.
remember that what is actually happening is that you're still a human at the level of humans,
Hmm.
and right now the big stories are not making sense of the human interactions.
Yep.
And so there's some different listing. Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so
Keep
like
going.
it's that time to like it is that time to um also like question our assumptions, right? Like
Yes,
totally. Like
yes,
it was wild to me to see. I think I had always knew that Trump could win. Like I actually said a year ago, I was like, Trump's probably gonna win. Not
yeah,
because I was being defeatist, but just because
yeah.
of watching cultural spaces in the spaces that I'm in and the places, the digital sphere that I organize in as well. Um, but to see the thing that really disappointed me to see a bunch of people be like, oh well, Latinos, I hope you all get deported. From like people I respect,
Ooh,
people on the left
yeah,
that I'm like, you are literally playing into their game. And that's the thing that
yes.
what time it is to understand that folks are playing chess while we're playing checkers. And
Yeah.
it's not pretty and it's obviously not like the world that we want, but what is exists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
exists.
Mm-hmm.
It exists.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's, I this chess versus checkers thing has been so interesting to me because I almost feel like it's reversed. Like I'm like, it almost feels like I'm like, oh, we're trying to play chess with people who are like,
That's a totally
checkers
yeah.
is where I roll.
Right.
And
Right.
like, you might not want to be on my game, but like, the only options here are king and pawn. That's it. That's it. Right. And you're
Hmm.
all over there with like, oh, but bishops. No,
Yeah.
there's just us and them and what are you? And like, that simplicity actually allows so many more people to feel like, okay, I can be played by this game. I understand it. And I heard such a beautiful analysis kind of by way of a doctor of mine who's Latina, and was just like the mistake people make, that clumping people together and clumping people together, the way that our oppressors have clumped us together means that we
Hmm.
can never see clearly because we're always seeing through the eyes of our oppressor in a way that flattens identity. And so then we don't
Hmm.
understand, like, some Latina folks come from spaces with massive hard relationships with socialism. Some come from situations where like we understand how to deal with dictators. We're a
Hmm.
little more, some come from other circumstances, and because we're looking at it and trying to be like one mass, it's like then it's
Yeah.
never going to make any sense. Just like Black people, it's like over time we have been beaten into some kind of semblance of an identity, which still
Hmm.
doesn't hold as soon as you look under the cover, right?
Correct.
And so I keep being like, so part of, I say that identity is not community, and that's one of the things we really confuse. But this week has been so bright with that I'm just sort of like,
Hmm.
y'all, like, economy unifies people in ways that almost nothing else does. Maybe
Yep.
sports and maybe a little bit religion, but like very few things like are like at a material need level. Here's what I need, and can you give it to me or not give it to me, and then how do we move from there? And
Hmm.
I'm so sad also. I've been so sad to watch so many people be like immediate fuck you. I'm like, you were conditioned to feel fuck you to that person, and the
Yep.
most radical thing you can do is like pull that back and be like, hold on, why are you,
Why?
why are you you, and why are you making choices like this, and here's why I'm making my choices, and like, can we get under the stories of oppressors and the stories of the
Mhm.
elite that like love to see us turn on each other,
Yep.
um okay, anything else you want to say about the what time it is?
It's time to get serious about culture,
Mm-hmm.
in a way that I think that a lot of folks think, like, look, as somebody who's an artist as well, culture is
Yes.
art, but also culture is shared experiences.
Yes.
Culture is shared values that
Yes.
come through shared experiences. Like I say
Yes.
this all the time, like, like watching Star Wars when I was a kid was like made me an anti-fascist, right?
Yes.
Like it's like that made me like I wouldn't obviously not in my head then, but
Yeah.
I knew it
I was
instilled
like,
in
oh,
that.
empire and fascism. No.
Also,
Yeah.
teddy bears like save everything. Like I have an Ewok on my arm. Like what? Like
Yeah.
exactly. Like
I'm like,
teddy bears
me
without
and
guns.
Yoda have been
Teddy
holding
bears
on to
without
each other
guns.
so deep this week. I have a baby Yoda toy that, like, I don't know how it came into my life exactly, but it's gotten me through so much. And I was just sort of like, Yoda, like, I did not try. I did. This is the result, you know? Okay, so as a culture person, I'm also a culture person. I really believe that politics doesn't really happen outside of culture. And I think that a lot of times we move for policy wins without first establishing the cultural ground on which that policy win can be a real lived
Mhm,
experience, right? And so that's
mhm,
when we see the backslide. It's like we didn't
mhm,
shift the culture. We may have gotten people to say the right thing,
mhm,
but we didn't actually shift the culture underneath
mhm,
the like, oh, you
mhm,
see the humanity of all these people.
mhm,
I feel like Octavia Butler was one of these people who really understood, oh, culture is what we're playing in. And I feel like she was always trying to help us understand the world that we were in and what was possible.
mhm.
And that in her ideal world, more of us would understand, like, oh, we all play a role in shaping whatever these conditions are. That's one of the biggest things I think she always wanted us to understand. What do you wish more people understood in this moment?
I wish that more people understood that the a few things that is like you can find in a lot of places. Like one, for those who identify as a leftist or progressives,
Mm,
and this is not just this moment, which is why it's not new, but there's always the turnaround of we are seen as too angry, not fun, can't just kick back, can't just,
not relatable.
like
Yeah.
not relatable,
Mm-hmm.
can't take a joke. And I don't mean like deeply offensive jokes.
Right.
I just mean like, something that uncle will say
Yes.
at
Yes.
the barbecue or Thea will say at,
Yes. It's like everything's a teaching moment instead of a being moment.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And this has happened, right? Remember when they said, oh, like the feminists are burning their bras, even though it wasn't that many people burning their bras, like actually,
Yeah.
right? They
Yeah.
will
Yeah. Yeah.
take, and so this has been a strategy for a long time.
Yes.
Um, what I would say is, and I think that this has to do with, I think this probably happened in the past too, but I see it in even more so. We lean into it
Yeah.
when when leftists say, oh, like all of these things are tools. Whether it's voting, whether it's direct action, whether it's lobbying campaign, all these I've seen all of them work and I've seen all of them not work.
Yep.
So do not tell me that one is holier than thou,
Yeah. Yeah.
because all of them, it's like, people will be doing direct actions, they get all their shit from Walmart. I'm like, look, we're all fucking doing something. Like, I gotta ask, like, it's just, it's
Sorry,
just
that felt
like,
personal.
I
Woo.
mean, it's
Okay.
personal to me too, right? So
Yes.
like,
I'm
but
like, I've been on
but
those trips. Like, yeah.
yes, me too. I mean, go to get Whataburger because that's all I could afford in Texas.
Well, and also it's like, oh, we're doing a action in the middle of this rural area where what Walmart is the store. So yes,
Yeah,
that's where we will
exactly.
be.
Right. And so
Yeah.
so I just think that this whole holier than thou thing like feeds into
Mm-hmm.
the we're not also regular people.
That's right.
I think that also a lot of leftists online separate themselves from what their true selves are.
That's
They're
right.
not like people are afraid to say they like something.
That's right.
It's, it's like, oh, it's my guilty pleasure. No, it's your pleasure.
It's like I actually just like this and I don't want to,
It doesn't.
it's so interesting because I always say that like all art is political. I understand that it's either upholding the status quo or
Mhm.
tearing it down. And I'm like, I have been really trying to close this gap. I recently was at the Bell Hooks library and I went to read about her, and she was like, yeah, Bell Hooks was like my political public self, and then there was myself, Gloria Jean, and I was like, oh, like I think for years and years that's been a way to navigate the public, and now I think it doesn't read authentically, and I think it doesn't allow us to actually stay connected to people. Like this
Yep.
past year I've been falling in love with women's sports particularly, and just
Yes.
allowing my heart to soften, and allowing the energy of life to flood through me, to be like, oh my god, did you see what Angel just did? Like that's magic, and just being like, oh, like a ton of people who believe a ton of different things are able to all tap into this energy, which is about black femme power, but also togetherness, but also the human body, but all these
Hmm.
things. And and then I find the dissonance between people that I see online who are like, "Meh, meh, meh," and then like I talk to them, I'm like, so
Right.
you do watch Real Housewives? Okay,
Yeah.
so because I wouldn't know, and actually I think it hurts us to have this presentation that is not human. When
Hmm.
most of us are like human,
Hmm.
most of us. There are some people who are just
Hmm.
like, no, wonk all day, wonk all night. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But those folks, even in movement spaces, don't tend to connect well with many other
Yep.
people. So
Yep.
I really like this. If we can understand that it's okay to be whole people, or at least at minimum, I approach everything experimentally. So I'm like, we've
Right.
tried the experiment of like having these like political selves who like are constantly scared to say and do the wrong thing, but it's
Right.
keeping them from being real. Let's experiment with, if we are going to even be in these spaces at all, to be ourselves in these spaces and what that looks
Right.
like. What
Right.
else?
Well, I think that like we have lost the values fight. We've gotten into these
Mm.
like I mean, I said this a while ago. I don't know when it
You better
happened,
self-reference like Beyonce.
but
Okay.
yeah. And like
Like,
and there was, I was just like, I don't care if Joe Biden passes like something that is, Medicare for all, but doesn't care, but calls it like, the Nike Act. Like, I don't care what it's called. Like, I think we've gotten too
mm.
into hashtags and into like,
Yeah.
and well, it was hashtags, and then now it's like, but like we've gotten too into like the sentence or like the
Yes.
three words as opposed to
Yes.
the
The
to the
actual
depth
content.
and
Mm.
the content, and then that has shown that like I don't think when I actually look at the left and the right online, I
Yeah.
do a lot of online organizing. For those who don't know, I organize Real Housewives fans with Real Housewives of Politics. We
Hmm.
organize women's basketball fans with Basketball House. Like I
Yes.
cried. I was there when the Liberty won in the stadium, and I was bawling because the Liberty games was one of the first games I went to, basketball games, when I was a child, with my Rebecca
Tenderoni.
Lobo jersey on, like,
Yes.
and was just
Yes.
like, New York brought a chip home,
Yes.
and I
Finally.
realized how like I remember, like, because I used to be a big football fan,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick stuff and all this stuff, and then I didn't really have people to talk about it in movement with, so I was like,
Yes.
maybe I just shouldn't watch this anymore. But I miss that
Yeah.
euphoric feeling of being like cheering on a team,
Yes.
cheering on, right, and like doing something for your home city, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Belonging
like
to
there's
place in
something
some way.
there's yeah,
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
having 50,000 people in an arena being like, we did
Yeah.
it in New York, like,
Yeah.
and
Well, and
there's
there's
other
also
people who
something to
disagree.
me that is like, I was really thinking about it, the juxtaposition of like the WNBA finals and then the election, right? And I was like, oh, we should be using this kind of energy for
Yeah,
sport. Like
yeah,
that's the appropriate place where it's like actually not much is on the line. Like if New York doesn't win this year, like they'll win some other year. But like it's so good. It feels so good for them to win.
yeah,
There's a story to it. But like that's the place for that kind of like
yeah,
my team versus your team energy.
yes,
When it comes to the policies that are supposed to like take care of all of our basic needs, I don't think we should be engaged in like
right.
that energy at all.
And
Right?
that's what, and the right wing does it. Like with the right
Mm.
wing that we see that gets uplifted does. But when I think about it, like when trad wives were happening and Nara Smith was one of the big people were like, there's no, like a bunch of people today were surprised she was a Trump supporter. I was like, she's showing it, she's showing, not
All
telling.
the time. All the
She's
time.
showing her values. She is
Yes.
showing, not telling. She's saying it and that's actually how people act, like people express their values, right?
Yes.
And I think, and people, and I think that like there are usually cultural touchstones, right, that
Mm.
express those values in the history. And I think since the internet has gotten so disparate and all this stuff, it's like there's not these unified moments. Like there was I mean,
Right.
FJK Rowling, but there was a unified moment when Harry Potter came out. And it was kind of like this
Mm-hmm.
versus that, right? Like there
Yeah.
was a unified moment when Buffy the Vampire Slayer came out. There was like unified, but right, there's
Yeah, there
these
used to be
unified,
unified cultural moments.
right,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right,
And now it's
right,
like everything's disparate, everything's niche, everything's
right,
subcultural and bubble and like
right, right.
isolated.
And what the right wing is doing really well, and I don't mean just like the people in power, the right wing, but the bottom, the
Yeah.
actual like from the bottom up is that they are literally like they're saying these are my values. My
Mm.
values are to be submissive. My values are to be a wife. My values are to like not be like I wouldn't call myself a feminist, but this is my choice, right? Like
Uh-huh.
those are things, and like I we don't do that on the left. We're like this policy or not, or like if you
Yeah, yeah,
believe in this
yeah.
or not, and we're not like
Yeah.
what's your, and that's why I've been thinking about bread and roses because that was about
Yeah.
values. It was like we want
Yeah.
our bread and we want our roses too. And I'm sorry, but anybody who thinks this is like a thing, because like I swear to God, people be doing this all the time, and I'm like, I'm sorry. People be acting on the left like folks don't want nice things. And like all I remember is going to Canal Street all the time to get me some fake Louis Vuitton, some fake Chanel, and my, and my little
Mm.
like, and my little slippers. Like, like, and
Mm.
so it's like, I mean, you think about Dapper Dan and you think about the culture of like oh my God, what is it called? Oh my God, what is it called when you uh take something, there's a big, there
Oh
is,
my
especially
goodness.
in Black culture, where you, oh my God, like the
I'm like
like
watching
knock
your hand signals
like
trying to do
knockoff
charade,
culture,
and I'm
like
like, what?
knockoff
A
culture,
knockoff culture,
like
okay?
knockoff culture, right?
Yeah.
Taking things and like making it. I mean, like that, and
And being
literally
like, here's the
a
version
lot
we
of
can
Louis
afford.
Vuitton, yeah, but also
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Louis Vuitton. Then they moved to
Oh, yeah.
embracing
Oh,
those
yes.
styles, right?
Oh,
And so
yes.
I say that to say that like mad people are like, oh, people don't want nice things, people don't, right? Like, and they make this thing
Yeah,
about
yeah,
working
yeah.
class folks. So like people want bread and they want roses. And I
Yes.
think that like we need to start to talk about that in a values based way as opposed to
Yeah.
just policy. Because also, if we
Yeah.
get too wrapped up in an individual policy, like this, if you're thinking about it on the countrywide level, it's a big ass country. There's always going to be compromise until we really shift a lot of stuff, or until
Yeah.
I still hope that there's a revolution one day. I still hope that we have an Earth Charter and all of these. I like that is my dream, and also in reality, right now we have to show what the values of the left are, because everybody's talking about,
Yes.
oh, the left does identity politics. And look, there are ways I think we do it insularly,
Yeah.
like it to each other, but actually publicly, the right wing was talking more about people's
Identity.
genitals and all
Oh,
they were
they're
talking way more about
obsessed.
identity. They're obsessed with
Obsessed.
identity. So
Yes.
all these folks being like, we got to drop it. I'm like, we're not even doing it that much. First of all, on that
Mm.
level, on a presidential level, and second of all, it's about values. Stop, because even when folks are like, we gotta say Medicare for all now or whatever, and I'm like, I think
Yeah.
what Bernie said was great, but like the left punditry was like, we gotta say Medicare for all, we can't say defund. And I was like, I haven't heard defund the police in 2 3 years, and that's not, and part of it has been
Right.
strategic because people knew that like people weren't getting it,
They're
and
like,
it's not
yeah, it's
about
like
what the end
these three
result
words
was,
are not actually
is that
computing to what we're asking
it's
for. Yeah.
computing to what we're asking for, because we
Yeah.
are asking for redistribution of wealth, right?
Yes.
So these 3 words can go to hell. I don't. Any 3 words are expendable to me. It is about
Yeah,
what
yeah,
ends up
yeah.
happening to our people. But for everybody else, they're like, it is those 3 words and nothing else. And then that's how you have charlatans and grifters come on, just saying those words, and then they're
And then
something
they're,
else. So
well, and
like,
I always said this, I've always said the opposite, which I'm like, I'm like, when people are obsessing over like, you call me the N word, you call me the N word. And I'm just like, listen, you can call me Miss N word if you want to, if you treat me from head to toe in the ways that I need to be treated and all my material needs are met, and I never even have to see you. I don't care what you call me. I care about the material well-being of myself and my people. And
yep,
I think we get caught on the language when it's almost like we don't have power over anything else. And so then we're like, we'll argue
yep,
about this, but nothing else. And there's something that was coming up for me as you were talking. Yeah, like I keep thinking about this where I'm like, the vision I hold for what we're trying to build is so beautiful and it's so compelling to me. And so often, even when I'm talking to organizers, the thing they're saying is that people just need to figure out how to make sacrifices. And I'm like, it's I understand where that's coming from, but I'm like, that's not connected to the vision. The vision that I hold is this abundant, high functioning vision where it's just like so much care and so much, it's like we have hot tubs, but they're hot tubs that are like good for the earth, and like we can get alone time or together time in them or whatever it is. There's just something that's just like we don't. I think that the way that we often orient towards it is like we're heading into massive sacrifice, and that's what we're like the side of sacrifice, or the side that's like to get you together to reality. And it's like, yeah, the reality is if we don't make these adjustments, we are heading into
Yeah.
apocalyptic, very hard times. Like right now I'm sitting
Yeah.
here and I'm like, um, yeah, I don't see how we're not heading towards harder times. And I think collapse creates possibility, and collapse creates this possibility for, so I keep looking at Asheville as an example, where it's like this collapse happens. And then what floods into place is communities who are already formed and already in love with each other and already connected to each other. And there's abundance. And they're like, and we know how to gather the abundance and distribute it fairly and make sure everyone's actually taken care of. And I keep hearing from people there that's like, this is hard, but there's something so beautiful about it. There's something so abundant about it. There's something like that fundamental thing we're all trying to get. It's happening here. And it might only happen for a moment. Just like for many of us at the beginning of COVID, there was that experience of like, oh my gosh,
Hmm.
we are taking care of each other. Like we're holding these lines so that we can make sure everyone has what they need. And like, look how the ocean's responding, and all of that. So I just keep pointing to like, we don't know how to tell the story of what we're imagining and what we're dreaming
Hmm.
and what we want in a way that makes
Hmm.
people feel
Yep.
aroused and excited and like their needs
Yep.
could get met and
Yep.
like,
Yep.
mm-hmm,
Like this is a moment, like I'm seeing it right now where like this is a moment like, you know, in so what values that the right wing has had online is like very anti-war.
yeah,
And it also is complicated. Like anti-war
yeah,
doesn't just solve it, right? Like
yeah,
it is anti-war to just focus on internal things
yeah,
and not give a fuck about anybody else. So don't
yep,
like just completely abandon, right?
uh-huh.
Which I, as an internationalist, I do not believe. I don't
Like
think that
that's
we should
not
be
the
meddling.
way.
But it's like it's more
Yeah,
about building a community of care, internationalist community of care. But when we think about it, like there's a big opportunity, and I haven't seen it as much, but
yeah,
there's a big opportunity. What I've seen right now, and again, we all have different algorithms, but what I've
that's
seen
right.
on some of like a lot of Trump's picks are neocons and warhawks thus far.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are warhawks.
oh
And
yeah,
a lot of his base is like visibly angry online, and they're like, I hope that they don't. And this is a moment, I think, where like this is a moment where folks who are fighting for like the freedom of Palestinians and anti-genocide could really be going into that moment about values. And maybe
yes,
we can knock off a couple of like Warhawk picks that are
yeah,
gonna make shit worse, right?
that's right.
I think that like you think about Mike Huckabee and what he has said, and him, him serving in his role that he's appointed in. Like, I think that like there are also these moments
Mm-hmm.
where we could be capturing folks who agree with us on something and then bring them along the values thing. But
Yeah,
also, Maurice said this on a call the other day, is it's like we have to have the stomach to organize and debate people that we don't agree with.
yeah,
And I think that that's like, I think that was really hard for me going into the election because I was like, look, it's okay if you don't want to vote. Like, I can't, if you're already in your, I'm here to convince people who are thinking about it,
yeah,
right? To engage.
yes,
I'm not like,
yes,
if you have your thing, I just want to know strategy. I
that's
just want to know
right,
what's the plan. And
that's
here, and
right.
also strategy is not personal.
Yeah.
It is strategy is about about bigger and broader things.
You
And
mean personal, like it's not an individual.
it's not an individual thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not
Great.
individual. Like we all have our fears and our traumas and all of these things, right?
Yeah.
Like, and also like it's not a strategy is not about you. It's about the we.
Yeah, I really think that that's, like if I'm looking at like what happened over the past few months, it felt like watching people take things so personally and misunderstand each other, like almost intentionally. It was just like, if you do this, then this is the cutoff line. And to me, that very way of thinking, of like, let me find the line at which I will cut you off, is an anti organizing and maybe anti
Right.
revolutionary way of thinking, right? That it's like, the job of the organizer, as far as I understand it, is always to be going to where our ideas have not reached, our values have not yet reached, and finding the folks who are like soft edges between the
Yeah.
spaces and being like, come here, there's room for you, there's sanctuary for you, and here's how we want to love you, you know, like, and here's how we want to make room for you, which is actually quite personal, but it means that you have to be like, oh, I'm not above you. And that I kept feeling that they're like, look, people looking for like, how am I above you? How am I above you? Which to me is like how Trumpism and how that MAGA, that's how that's gotten into everyone without them noticing it. And there's
Yeah.
something about purging that energy out
Mhm.
and being like, how do I return to curiosity and beginner's mind,
Yeah.
which is so fundamental to being a good organizer.
Yep.
Um,
And
okay,
I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
And like one thing, somebody just said, that's culture, make town hall meetings cool. I'm actually not saying that. I'm saying that, like, what do people like to do?
Mm,
Like, this is the actual problem with the left, is that we try to make the things that we're already doing and the tactics cool, as opposed to saying what tactics. Like, to be
yeah,
honest, and I've said this, and I'm gonna say this here because I it is so surprising to me that nobody, and I bet you there's gonna be some right wing ones, are doing watch party. Like, we're talking about the manosphere. The manosphere tomorrow is one of the biggest fights that is going to be live on Netflix.
like a
And I don't
fight,
know
fight
what
like that.
it's Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Oh, that one, I saw
Jake Paul,
that.
who is
Okay.
it's on my birthday. I'm gonna be somewhere else, but if I were like, if I wasn't having plans, I would have
Mm.
host a watch party for that, because you
Uh-huh.
can get people active just because it's not in the picture book of activism. You can get
Uh-huh.
people active. Like, we throw watch parties for Real Housewives and we kiki and we say wild ass shit.
Yes.
And at the end, and we still give people, and now those folks are
That's
volunteers.
great. That's
Now
great.
those folks are doing
I
all
hear
that
what you're
stuff,
saying
right?
because
And
it's
so
part
it's
of like
not just,
what is the direction of the energy, right? We keep telling people come here
yeah,
instead of being like we're going to come to
yes.
you. We're going to come to you.
Yeah, or like
Hmm.
come to our meeting that we already set the agenda for, that we did this for, or come to this thing. Like, people, there's lots of ways to gather.
Well,
We've
and
talked
this
about this
part
being a
I think
parking
about so
testimony.
much. I think about this so much because I'm like, don't invite people in so you can tear them apart. Don't invite people in so you can make them feel like shit. Don't invite people in and then be like, oh, you just said the wrong thing. Like, I'm like, y'all, what are we doing? Like, how do you build anything that way from any kind of? I was like, I always think about it as like, how would I treat my friends? How would I treat someone I loved, even if we disagreed? You know? And I'm like, I wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, damn, you fucked up that word. I'm never coming back here. Like, you know. But I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I blame online a lot, but I think this space has made it so hard for people to tolerate difference and tolerate actual
Mm-hmm.
tension and
Mm-hmm.
tolerate actual conflict. And those are the muscles we need to build.
Yep.
Um, I want to ask you, you know, the third party of it all was so, it was such a spark point throughout these past few months. And, I'm a dues paying member of the Working Families Party for reasons, because I feel like that way of being third party to me makes sense. And it feels like it understands the conditions and it's adaptive and it's emergent, but it's rooted in working peoples. And that's who I want to roll with. And so leading into it, there was a lot of question like, what is the right action? What is the right action? What is the right action? And I kept being like, look at the Working Families Party. Like the way that they're trying to move in this space is best given the conditions. Everything is last minute. The terrain is changing every minute. Now in this post-election period, where it's clear that the third party votes that, if you add them all up, they don't come close to the gap of what happened. And um, I'm just like, what is right action? What is right action for those who are interested in building out third party capacity or just breaking the duopoly? What is right action for,
Yeah.
yeah, what do you think is right action in
Yeah.
this moment?
Well, first, I think it's important to know that, like, the third party question has come up for many years. This is not unique.
No, it's
And I think
it's
it's
every single
like
time.
every
So
single
like
time it's come up.
every time. Yes.
And it's come up in a plethora of ways.
Mm-hmm.
I like, my earliest memories of third party was billionaire Ross Perot, and then the Amanda Bynes show. And Amanda Bynes she did a great, like, talk about chef's kiss. I hope you're doing well with your soul and your spirit, Amanda.
I hope she's doing
But
really well too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, so that was my first early memories, right? And so, and every
Mm.
single time that it was Nader and then it was right, like, it's just like, so it's not new. We just have the internet at our fingertips, so
That's
we're
right.
learning
So
more
we
about
can
it.
talk about it. Yeah.
And so I think that that's important.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also important that it's not new, and also, like, some of these parties have existed for a long time
Yeah.
and have it built in between.
Yeah.
And I don't say that from like, I'm just trying to shun somebody. It's not,
Yeah.
a lot of folks are like, oh, well, like if they get the 5% mark, and it's like, first of all, that's very wishful thinking when somebody's about to change the whole government that they're going to get 5% of
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have real public financing of elections anymore. We used to. Like
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter won because he got public matching system, public
Yes.
matching funds. We don't have that stuff anymore. We have it
Yeah.
in New York City. That's why Eric Adams is in trouble, but we don't have that nationally anymore. So to me, um, I think that the best, like, look, I've been at Working Families Party for about 16 years now. And it truly is one, we've evolved, right? Like,
Yes.
and I like, there's a lot of folks who are like, well, back then, yeah, I was there back then too, and I didn't like some of the stuff, but like, we have evolved, and
Yeah.
I have not seen an organization that has evolved in such a way, and I have not seen an organization that has taken in working class leadership. I was a high school dropout, don't have any college. I used to. There was a joke that I had a different phone number every month the first 2 years that I worked there because I was all prepaid cell phones. But I was able to be in leadership and
Yeah.
succeed
Yeah.
in a way. And as an Afro Latina, like, you don't find that a lot
Yeah.
in leadership of organizations. And I
Yes.
could say that about 6 other people who are in leadership of the working families.
Yeah.
We're actually taking in work. Like, I said crazy ass shit in 2008, but people were accepting and were like, okay, move. I also joined the party because the party changed my material needs. I was a retail worker and was making $5 an hour. And then I made $7 an hour. So also, if you are a third party, you need to start to change material needs, however you want to do it.
Yeah.
There's way different ways now, right? There's totally
Yeah.
different ways. But I also, when there are thousands of local uncontested elections that go on in this country, and these third parties aren't, like, other third parties aren't taking advantage of it, then I'm like, well, then what are you building? Are you just building a presidential shell just to be for president when literally you have to build stuff from the ground up? And the top bottom, they go both ways.
Both ways. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so for me, I'm really proud of the work that we've done at Working Families Party because we've not been delusional about, like, we're not out everywhere in the country. We still have a lot of
Yeah.
way to go. We still have a
Yeah.
lot of we do not really have that much play outside of New York State in rural areas. We have a lot more to do with that stuff, right? Like, and I'm never gonna like lie about what time it is for us
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think the fact that we've been able to have Working Families Party caucuses of folks, primary Democrats, corporate Dems, and in the places, especially in the South, where we need to beat Republicans back, join with sometimes Dems at a point. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
Black Panthers saying, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies,
Yeah.
right? Like, which is something that I believe a party should be doing, right? That should be
Mm-hmm.
a party's line in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I do really fundamentally believe Working Families has always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really hard in stand culture because people want to stand individual politicians, and I'm just like,
Yes.
I don't know why. Like, I just don't.
They're
Like,
not those
some of these
girls. That's
some
not the
politicians
ones.
are
I'm
my
like,
friends, and I
this again
still
is why
can't stand them.
sports. I'm like, stan
Yes,
athletes.
sports.
You don't
I
need to
got your Real
stand
Housewives,
stand
reality television, but
singers.
yeah,
Stand
yes,
people who are like, my art is just this art that has no actual bearing, over your
yeah.
material well-being.
Material needs. Yes,
Other
yes,
people, I'm like,
yes.
but for anyone who's like for me, I'm like, I don't ever try to stand someone where I'm like, we have to be in a transactional relationship. Like, we actually have to be in a relationship where I am giving over some of the power of sitting in these rooms and negotiating over my life to you. So I can't
Mhm.
stand, because that will make it really hard for me to see what you're actually doing, and to
Yep.
listen beyond your words to see what you're actually doing. Um,
Right.
I love that. I think that's really important. And in this moment when, I think fear was the major energy leading up into this election. I think heartbreak. I think, for me, I was like, I don't know that winning this election, I kept saying, I don't think win is available here. I think it's choosing what kind of loss is available and figuring out, like, is it a loss that is, for those of us who are trying to fight genocide? Is it a loss for those of us who are fighting fascism, for both? Or is it a loss of some other kind? Now we're in this moment where now the fear is like, whoa, it's like, oh, people are really about to be deported en masse, cut off from their medicine, and we don't know how much the election, this next phase is going to actually change everyone's material conditions. So that piece of right action is curious to me, right? Is it like, do we keep, it was like block MAGA and build the left, and it's like, do we keep building the left in these conditions? Is it, are there too many holes in the ship that we need to be plugging, or do we give up the ship? I keep hearing these like, yeah, like let go of this, and then also, or plug in and protect the people as much as you can, which feel like very different directions, which maybe both can happen and both need to happen at the same time. But I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, when I think about the like let go of it, I think about like I mean, I can maybe, but my mom can't, and my family can't, so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna go where any of that,
Yeah.
um, it's like I'm not gonna go to a place or like be in a way that like I can't,
Yeah.
they exist under this, you know what I
That's
mean? And
right.
so like
That's
I
right.
can't like millions and millions of people exist
Inside the
into it. Like
existing systems.
I think let go, somebody said let go of what? Like let go of government structures and be like, yeah, let it burn and let it like, and then like
Yeah, that's
wait
what
for
I
the
kept asking people
revolutionary
beforehand, where
moment.
they're
And
like, let
if
it
the
all burn
system, the
down. And I was
party,
like, what does that
government, yeah.
mean? Yeah. What happens
Yeah,
next, you know?
I also think it's really interesting when we don't have the money and we don't have the level of arms that we're saying to let go of things, because if it does burn down, I'm sorry, but like the people who would succeed.
Well, and
Like that.
this is why I'm a sci-fi scholar, because if you study, like most sci-fi apocalyptic texts
Yep.
makes very plain. You're like, oh, if we haven't built up a capacity to govern and trusted relationships and like networks
Yep.
that reach far, then every time we win some collapse or we really destabilize something, the military comes and they take over it, or the militia, or whoever is the most armed comes and they
Yep.
take over. And it's not that we haven't figured that out. It's like we know that that's the case, and we saw it with Arab Spring and all these other moments in history. It was like, oh, it's gonna go. Nope, nope, still going that way
Yeah.
because we haven't really figured out that piece. And so I'm always like, we need to contend for governance, and we need to be practicing governance, and we need to be
Mhm.
practicing making decisions as communities
Yeah.
together. And you
Yeah.
might do that towards collapse or towards something else. Um,
Yeah. I
for
think
me, I tend to do it towards building. Like, I'm like, the collapse is inevitable. So my focus is going to be on building what I can build, and getting it solid. Um, what do you think?
I mean, I think it's like I think we need a lot of fronts. Like,
Uh,
I think we need the front. Like, this is the thing. It's like people are like, we need one united front. I'm like, we need a bunch of them.
many, many united
we need
fronts.
we need like
Hmm.
the mutual aid, the aid front, because we're gonna need them because FEMA is not
Hmm.
coming.
Hmm.
None of the right, like if we actually destroy governmental systems, that's the whole thing too, is that people don't realize that there's a lot of governmental systems that
Yeah.
actually like you don't see,
Yeah.
but it's the
Until
reason
you.
why your road is fixed. It's the reason why you
Hmm.
don't got trash on the thing. And these folks aren't like, they're mostly black and brown workers, but we want to ignore that that's a part of government, but it is, right? Like we're just like,
Hmm.
we only see government as just the politicians, and it's
Yeah.
way more than that. So
Yeah.
what I think we need aid, I think we need like a front that is focused on aid and focused on building, our own structures,
Hmm.
infrastructure to
Hmm.
combat climate change, to combat, um, you know, uh, viral incidents, to help when there's big medical conditions, to help, right? Like if they start saying that you don't need vaccines, a bunch of people are going to get polio again, right? Like what is the wit, right? Like I'm just, and I'm not a big pharma person, trust me, no, but
I
also
know.
it's
I
just
know.
like,
I know.
I believe in some
I
science. I don't
know.
want one company to get it. That's a patent. But again, we always
I
see
know.
one part of the big, right? We
That's
see
right.
like big structure. We see the pharma part. We
That's
don't see
right.
all the scientists and like folks who dedicate their
That's right.
lives to actually trying to like come
To
up with
figure
stuff.
out the stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So like I think we need a united front there. I think we need, you know, organizations like Working Families Party and others who are engaged in the governance and like local governance, because that's going to be the front line of fighting in terms of like what government can help with,
Yeah.
um and political spheres. I think that we need the united front of folks who are going to um the thing that is really weird to me is that I feel like we are, even though corporations have gotten bigger, we are in less of a place of blaming them than we were during
Ah,
Occupy Wall Street.
yes.
Like it's wild. And so
Yes.
like it is wild to me. So I think we need a united front of like who is putting money where. Like everybody
Yeah.
says, like we say that the two-party system was that both parties were captured by billionaires. It's true, but 72% of the richest families' wealth went to the Republicans.
Yes.
72%.
Yeah.
22% went to Democrats. So like we
Yeah.
need to start like who are you, they're like,
What we're
what I
talking
love
about.
about like some of the BDS stuff, right? Those are boycott, sanctions, and divestment, and it's a corporate
Yeah.
target that has been around for a long time, not just
Yes.
during this, right? It has a long
Yes.
history in Palestine.
Yeah.
So shout out to y'all. And so like we need to start developing those. Like who is
Hmm.
what are the hobby lobbies, whatever, right, that have been saying, no, we will not, we want abortion ban nationally.
Yes.
We will find people, we'll do our own, because especially I'm a sci-fi fan too. Like they will start to have paramilitary troops in these
Oh yeah.
corporations
Oh, absolutely.
to help the government, especially when it's somebody who is friendly to corporations, right? So like, so we
Absolutely.
need an anti-corporate front, and I think that
Mm.
that's something that is really behind right now. Besides labor unions,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for the average activist and organizer, if you're not in labor union, so like follow folks like Sean Fade, UAW, right? Like, and
Yeah.
just get into the corporate fight because that's just
Yeah.
like they are
Well,
to
and I
blame
think
again.
I really appreciate you saying that because I feel like so often people, people are always like, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, I think most people already know what they're willing to do. And I think they get stuck, right? Or most people
Yep.
already know. And I think people underestimate how much their spending is a part of what they do. So I'm like, if you
Yep.
go to March, but then you don't pay any attention to how you spend your resources and your time, then you're probably offsetting whatever activity you just did, so trying to get people aligned with, oh, what does it look like to figure out what I can divest from, and not, I always tell people, don't try to do all at once. Like, don't try to cold turkey your
Right.
entire
So I'm
life,
saying,
because
like,
but you can build the muscle and slowly move one thing at a time, one thing at a
yep,
time, one thing at a
totally.
time. Okay, this is helpful. So the final thing I want to ask you, because more than almost anyone I see online or in real life, whenever I'm around you, I feel there's a certainty of your beliefs, that I can feel your beliefs from the core of you all the way out to the edges. Like there's just a like, I know how you feel. I know what you believe in. I know what you care about. Um, so it feels like your beliefs are so protected and so well cared for. And I think what I see a lot of people going through right now is just this shakiness, of being like, I don't know. Is it this or is it that? Or is it that or is it this or is it this? And in some ways, it's like for me, I find like being able to be wrong allows me to believe with my whole chest, because I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm going all out on this. I might not be right, but I'm going all out. This is the hypothesis. And so far, my ideas keep working. So I'm going to keep moving down this way. I want to
Mhm.
ask you how you're protecting your beliefs during
Mhm.
this time.
Yeah. Well, one, I will say that like I had a long time of questioning my beliefs because I was afraid of failure, was afraid of experimenting and failing, was afraid of getting it wrong, was afraid of also just like knowing it all. And so one thing about, and also was felt like I had to speak to everything. And I think this is the thing that the internet has, is that everybody has to be everything to everyone. And it's like, no. So like
Not
once I
possible.
threw that out the window, like I realized
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a a singer, musical theater enthusiast, tap dancer that likes camp. Give me camp, give me sci-fi, I'm good.
Yes.
Like give me and I know that like I can't speak to a lot of things, but I can speak to culture. I can
Yes.
speak to, right, like certain
Yeah.
things. And when sometimes I think we see that as a deficit because 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 corporate overlords want us to do this, and this. They want us to be flexible because they don't want to spend the money on actual talent. And so to me, one was like, and my dear friend Marisa Franco says this is like, I think us job as organizers is to develop staff who are organizers to develop their gut. I
That's right.
trust my gut
That's right.
better than, and
That's right.
especially I feel like for feminine or like women, and you know we are told not to trust, we're actually told to actually step out of our bodies for a lot
Mm-hmm.
of our lives. So
Mm-hmm.
coming in and back and trusting my gut was something that was like, because I used to be like, am I crazy, like things that the society would tell me. So one,
Yeah.
I do trust my gut, and two, I can, even if it takes me a long time, if I'm stubborn, I can admit when I'm wrong.
Yes.
Even if it's not to the person I need to admit it to, I can admit it to somebody else. You know what I mean? It might take me a while to be like, I ain't ready to talk to her yet. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I'll say it to somebody, right?
Yeah,
I'll be
that's
like,
right.
I fucked up. And I'm also not afraid of failure, and I'm not afraid of experimentation. And like the other thing that is like that the reason why I can protect my beliefs is because I had a, when I really got
Yeah.
radicalized and like thinking about the root of things,
Yes.
I thought that I had to divorce a big part of myself. And like have it in the closet, much you may say, or have it at
Absolutely.
home.
Absolutely.
And I said, never again will that happen to me. Like the more that I have worked in talking to people who aren't leftists, who aren't like the happier
Yeah.
I've been,
Yes.
the more that I've talked to folks who are just like, I'm going to talk to you about Real Housewives for 2 hours. And then all of a sudden I'm going to see where our values are. And then if our values are
Yes.
dope, like that has made me, because it's human. It's human to
That's
human
right.
stuff.
That's right.
You know, I literally went to BravoCon last year, which is a, you know, convention for Bravo supporters. And like somebody was like, I'm a raging Republican. I was like, you have a great day. And it was like so camp and like, and then that was it. I
Yes.
don't need to, she gonna live
Yes.
her life. I'm
It's
gonna
like
live
you're going
mine,
to go
right?
be committed to your path. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and I
And
do think
so,
there's something about that too. When you're like, I'm standing in mine, it helps me feel
yes,
like, oh, I'm not as offended or swayed by yours. And then I really have to
yes.
contend with the thing that matters is just that I have enough power with other people to protect what matters to me.
Mhm.
And it changes the conversation up completely because I'm just like, I don't like, it's very, very rare that at an interpersonal level, something can hit me, you know, like I'm just like, oh, like you don't like me, like it's okay, I don't like you either,
Yeah.
probably. I mean, like it's all good, like that's not what I'm on the earth to do, is be
Mhm.
liked by everyone, or
Yeah.
I'm on earth to love. And so then I'm like trying to remove everything that keeps me from being able to
Yeah.
do that well.
Yeah.
um is there anything that you wanted to share in this moment that you feel like you didn't get to touch into?
Yeah. I mean, this is like, I think that we are missing opportunities to bring people into our fold.
Mm,
Um, for instance, I've said this a lot, is like, if y'all notice, you know, every couple of months it's like Budweiser, or it's, you know, the Acolyte has a black queer lead, or it's like, um, it's something that happens in pop culture. And what the right wing does is they talk about it through their values, and then they bring people in and radicalize them. And I
uh-huh.
think what we on the left sometimes are is like, well, there are people dying somewhere. There are people, right? And it's like, it's a hard thing, because yes, that is true. People are
Yes.
dying. There's a full-blown genocide. And yes, it
Yes.
seems really weird to be
Yeah.
like, this show on TV on a corporate
Yeah.
network has like a political battle around it, but it happens.
Yeah.
And we are nowhere to be found. I, as a Marvel fan,
Mm,
and as a Star Wars fan, I have seen show after show after show get canceled, and they do this. They sink the rotten. They try to do it with Agatha All Along, which is the most witchy queer show I've ever seen in my life, and needs to,
yes.
everybody needs to watch. They try to do it, and for the first time, the fan base was like, no,
No,
and
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like they weren't fighting people. They were just like, I like positive bomb, right? Like they were
Yes.
positive bombing comments on Insta. They weren't trying to change people's opinions that were comment. They were just like, no, we are the
We love
majority,
this.
so we love this. And
Yes.
now it's like actually doesn't have that like chop that Disney's usually giving stuff. So I
Mm,
just think that we're missing those moments,
mm-hmm.
and we, you know, and we laugh and we're like, yeah, they're not going to cancel it. Their goal is not to cancel.
Yeah.
Their goal is to radicalize people. And so
That's
you need
right.
to understand the game and not the actual activity. The game
That's
is
right.
to bring people in.
Yeah,
So if
I
you're like,
think
ah, you're
yeah.
never gonna cancel it, they know that they're not gonna. Budweiser is older than Budweiser's so old.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Budweiser's
I think
fine.
that I love this point though because, you know, I will say this is one of the areas where I feel like I've been mistaken or I have misunderstood things in the past, which is like I've had friends who were like, yeah, my you know, some of the men in my life are really listening to these like podcasts and they're like getting all upset about some thing. And I'm just like, huh? Like, I don't have any energy. I don't think that's where we're supposed to be putting our energy. And I'm like, oh, that was wrong on my part. Because I'm like, whatever podcast they're listening to, that's like that's becoming their friend. That's becoming the people they turn to and trust. That's becoming the person who can shape their opinion towards
Mhm.
closed-mindedness and towards thinking that the problem that's happening in their life is about someone who's actually at the same level as them instead of someone who's, you know, I don't know, like I was just like, oh, I think everyone's looking at celebrities, but actually they're listening, they're listening to these folks who are willing to get into these fights that seem very petty to me. And again, not everyone's supposed to do each space, but it makes me really interested in like, how do I be more explicit about what culture means to me and fighting for it? Or being willing to shape how people understand what they're viewing or what they're seeing or what they're hearing,
Yeah.
um, through a lens of love. Because, I was like, the thing that I'm putting forward, the space that I'm creating is one where I'm like, uh, those men don't have to be going down a path away from humanity. Those people could be, I'm like, there's a way to also create a path of love that leads them back to themselves and back to community. And
Yeah.
anyway, so
And
I really appreciate that, like not missing the
yeah.
cultural opportunities to speak about our values,
Yeah.
speak about our beliefs, and like actually help radicalize people.
Like we're even missing it in this moment where we're talking about Joe Rogan and people are talking about it in the chat. For all of you, I
Oh,
wanted to keep it
I'm so grateful because
very
I can't keep track of the
100.
chat when I'm having
No,
a
it's okay. I just
conversation.
see some with
This is
names and I'm like,
millennial. This is, I'm like,
but
yes.
this is also like Joe Rogan, like this whole debate around him is killing me. One, Joe Rogan did not start off as a right-wing commentator, and
Right,
he is not all the way
right,
right-wing. Y'all have to
right.
stop. One, he started as an MMA announcer. He
Okay.
started as a Fear Factor host, and MMA has went from then went to hello, and then went to and he endorsed Bernie in 2016. He
Mm,
endorsed Bernie in 2016. He is a
mm-hmm.
person that I would say is like one of my like male cousins who live in like small town North Carolina,
We know
who I
people like
love,
this.
and just
Mm-hmm.
say stupid manly shit,
Mm-hmm.
machismo shit. But somebody fuck with me or somebody like absolutely not. They all voted for Biden in 2020. Absolutely not. Right. And so, like,
Uh-huh.
so basically, like, everybody's saying, oh, we need a Joe Rogan of the left. Like, Joe Rogan is actually not like, Joe Rogan is a problem in his own shit, but he's just a regular guy. But he started talking about culture. And for me,
Yeah.
I remember Joe Rogan because I would watch Fear Factor because I liked gross shit. Right. And so to
So it's
me,
all
I think
reality
that, like,
TV stars that are running almost everything now.
I mean, look, this is why I'm organizing reality TV. But what I would say is
Yeah.
this like it's not it is that people flock to folks talking about top cultural topics that
Yes.
they are talking about.
Yes.
And we have missed the ball. We
Yes.
have missed
Yeah.
the ball. When Budweiser happened, we weren't all talking about how Budweiser, we talked about Joe Rogan. No, he has millions of fans. That's not a
Right.
helpful conversation to talk about. He's the number. It's the same thing with Alexandra Cooper. And you know what? I have to say for everybody who said Father Cooper, she like has moved. She said she had no black friends back in the day. She had no, and she is moving
Uh-huh.
the other
Uh-huh.
way, even though her base is moving. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like these things are not, especially in this world where there is the different camps, but there's a lot of fucking
Space
space in
in
between.
between.
And so
Yeah.
I just think that like is and I think that like it's like Joe Rogan is not just the sole problem. It is that because he's platforming people who are talking
Mm.
about things that millions of people are talking about. And if millions of people,
Uh-huh.
so like then it's like a check on ourselves of like, are we actually meeting people where they're at?
But I do think the thing that feels important about that is that it has to be authentic. Like I believe,
Yes.
like whatever he's doing, he's actually really interested in having the conversations he's having, whatever it is, right? And when I'm talking to you, I'm like, you and I can really talk about Real Housewives in a meaningful way, or WNBA in a meaningful way. Like I'm not taking it on to like fake manipulate people into thinking I care about
Right.
what they care about,
Right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't
So
go in some.
no, because you can really feel that. So I feel like part of what I'm hearing inside of what you're saying is like tap into the part of you that is human, period. And then let that part of you that is human guide you to where you can do your radicalizing work. Like instead of thinking of your part of the front line in the silos that philanthropy has set up for us, maybe think about your
Yep.
front line in the culture that you love and being like, oh, the culture that I love is where I should go and bring people along the values journey with me, because we're going to be talking about the ultimatum, queer ultimatum anyway. We might as well talk about the queer ultimatum in a way that is liberating. We're going to be talking about the WNBA anyway. We might as well do that in a way that is liberating. Is
Yeah.
that
Exactly.
okay?
Yeah.
That the medicine?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
That's the
And
medicine. That's the medicine. And like I know a lot of folks are, I know it's yes, in a world where it's like I would love to leave all the social media platforms and to leave folks. But again, it's just like 90% of the world is on Facebook.
well, and this is,
90%
I
of the world.
remember
It's just
long
like,
ago when we were starting the League of Pissed Off Voters, we were like, we're going to start an alternate one. And I remember they did a lot of work and like built up the coding and everything to create a liberatory social media. And it very quickly became clear that like nobody wants to go there. like nobody wanted to go over to whatever that other place was. Like, we want to be where the people are. Like, people all want to be in the same town square or whatever it is. And I think right now we're in an interesting place where it's like, can we make a town square that is compelling and that crosses over or whatever into the spaces where folks are? You know, like I think some of the ones, like I think I've seen a lot of people get off of X or Twitter, and either come to here or to TikTok, or I keep hearing Blue Sky is now the place or whatever. But I think that people will continue migrating, and like rather than judging where people are migrating, we need to understand like people will continue to migrate to where they feel seen and where
Yeah.
they feel belonging, where they feel community.
Yep.
Our job is to also be human and go where we feel belonging and where we feel seen, where
Yep.
we feel community, and then engage the people who are there. So like,
Yep.
you know, until I can do my little special meme things in some other place, I'm going to keep offering them here. And I'm going to keep doing my main thoughts elsewhere. I do my main thinking in my books. I do my main thinking in my conversations and on my podcast and other spaces, so that this is not the place that holds my brain. This is the place that holds my cultural, fun, exploring self, the part of me that needs to laugh and feel and connect in that way.
Hmm.
And that is making sense for me, you know, and I feel like when I come on and have those moments. So I think you are a genius. I think you're so brilliant. And I hope that everyone comes and follows you and checks out your work. What is one piece of your art that you would like people to engage with right now?
Yes. I'll cheat and do two. Well, Resistance Revival Chorus if you want some
Always.
good music and song. And if folks check out Broadway Votes, we did a remix of a song with Alex Newell singing called Keep Marching, and it's really
Mm,
getting me through these days. And
hmm.
it's a soul thing.
Okay,
It's soul work.
beautiful. I love that. Um, the thing I keep listening to right now is this song called Something Has to Break. And it's like a gospel song, which has also been like, that's my little coming out thing. But I remember when I was sitting at Grace Lee Boggs's bedside in hospice, she was like, she didn't really want to talk about anything, but she kept asking me to sing her gospel songs and Sam Cooke songs. And she was like, I like gospel, not the ideas, but I love the feeling, you know? And I was like, that's right. Like, and this song, Something Has to Break, for me feels like this moment where it's just like, it's got to break in my mind. It's got to break in my heart. It's got to break in the lineage between me and my children. Something's got to break. And it's just been like, I think I've been listening to it almost every day for quite some time, and just being like, oh, like, the part of us that I think one part of organizers is like, I'm gonna hold everything together, even though it's a busted thing. I'm gonna try to hold it all together to
Mhm.
protect my people. And it's like, no, something's got to break, and it is breaking, but we can hold our people, and we're not supposed to cover them with our bodies. We're supposed to hold on to each other, and like the holding on to each other means that none of us are self-sacrificing in this life, you know.
Mhm.
But it's like we're living and co-creating it. All right, everyone's going to go listen to your music. They're going to go follow you. I'm so grateful for your time. It really, 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 I know it's precious. I know you work hard, and I hope you're taking some good care of yourself right now.
I'm just soul work.
Mm-hmm.
Mwah.
All right, bye,
Bye,
love.
everybody. Thank you.